All right, so what are we going to do now?
We're going to go to truthful estimations right away.
Right away, truthful estimations. Oh, watch how he spins on a dime and does it and goes to truthful estimations. Boom.
We're going to break after this one.
After this. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Truthful test estimation. Stop telling lies when you do estimations, please. Stop telling lies. I did this thing when I was a kid. I told a lot of lies. I did a lot of stealing. I stole from my mother. I am not proud of this, but I am happy whenever a terrible mistake in my youth can be turned into a productive teaching story in my adulthood. I turned from a criminal into a straight, narrow, never break the rules kind of guy. That is to say, never break a legitimate rule. I break illegitimate rules all the time. But rules that I think are legitimate, I don't break them. I don't tell lies. I decided when I was 12, I'm not going to tell lies anymore because I was almost caught stealing. I came this close to being caught, and I was so frightened by that. I said, I hate this feeling. I never want to have this feeling again. I am never going to steal, and I am never going to tell a lie again because I'm just not good enough at it. I think if I was better at it, I would have thought, the life of a thief is really great. I want to do more of that. But I've just decided I have to be good at the things that I try to do, and I'm not good enough at lying. So I decided to do the exact opposite and always tell the truth, which is really hard to do, and I don't always succeed. See, that's a kind of a truthful statement. But I try very hard. I suffer when I am put in a position where I have to tell a lie. I invariably suffer. I hate telling lies. So when people ask me to do test estimations and I don't have an answer, I say, I don't know. Which it seems that most of the testing world feels that that is an unacceptable answer. I can't just say I don't know. My manager wants an answer, so I have to give him an answer. And I just say, well, how about this? I really don't know. Say whatever you want. Pick any number at random. I don't know what it's going to be. Let me give you a little story about a real thing that happened so you know where I'm coming from. On January 3rd, 2010, I was hired to be a test architect on a medical device project. By January 7th or so, I was asked for an estimate. I said, I don't have any estimate to give you, but we need one. I'm not going to give you one. That would be ridiculous. I laughed at them. Like, what do you think I am, magic? That's funny. I don't know why people take their management so seriously when they ask them absurd questions. It's like when your child tells you, Mommy, I don't want you to go to work. Do you just say, Smita, do you just say, oh, okay, I guess I won't? Because my child said no, so what am I going to do? You just go, no, I really have to. I want to stay home with you. I really do want to stay home with you, but I have to do this. This must be done. And then your child eventually goes, okay, but they might be upset for a little while. Your management is exactly the same way. They go like, but I really want it. But I really want you to predict the future infallibly. Like, it's okay that you want that. I'm not criticizing you for wanting that. But I can't tell lies, and any answer I give you would be a lie. So I'm just going to say, no, I have no idea. But I will have an idea later, and as soon as I have an idea, I will let you know what that idea is. I promise. As soon as I know, I will tell you. It's interesting that on that project, here I now know what the future is. I didn't know on January 7th, 2010, but now I can time travel because it already happened. So I will take you in a time travel machine and say, here's what happened. Let's go. They told us formal testing was beginning in 6 weeks. Okay, let's beam ahead 6 weeks. They go, oh, no, maybe in another 6 weeks. Let's get back in the time machine and go another 6 weeks. No, it still hasn't started. Let's go another well ahead. May 8th, 2010. That was the first time I ever saw the product. We got 1 day to test it. starting at 4 p.m. One day to test it. So we went from 4 p.m. to midnight. We spent the next 2 hours writing our test report, and then they took the product away from us and didn't show it to us for another 3 months. Why didn't they show us this product for 3 months? Because we found so many bugs in one day that they were shocked. They thought it was almost done, and we showed them that you can barely turn it on. Literally, you could barely turn it on, and they thought it was almost done. And we said, let us work with you every day on this. We'll get this into shape. And they're like, no, you're like the tax man. We can't have you hanging around our developers. Go back home to America. So we went home to America from Israel and waited another 3 months. Then they said, now we're really ready. And in August, they brought us in for 10 days. After 4 days, we said, this is still nowhere near. It's not even ready for formal testing, much less ready for shipping. And then they fired all of us. I was fired. 3 other testers were fired. And then they hired me back a week later because they said, you have to write the test procedure so we can someday ship this thing. And you're the only one who can do it. So I said, all right, well, but I kept telling you no. I always told you no. No. And they said, it's an interesting thing about the fact that you always tell us no, James. It doesn't cost us much money when you tell us no, because you refuse to bill any hours. So we actually, even though you're saying no, you don't cost us very much, whereas all those other testers said yes and would bill 100 hours doing work that they would then have to throw away. So the other testers were writing test procedures that had no basis in anything. They had never seen the product, right? So, but they wrote a lot of test procedures anyway based on the perfectly done requirements. All that stuff had to be thrown away. But we still had to pay the testers. So the company was being drained of money by testers who said yes to everything, even when it was silly. The one tester who said no was the tester who got to keep his job. So that's just a lesson for all of you out there who think that saying yes is what you always have to do. Maybe sometimes job security is found in the opposite direction. Of course, I tell that story because that's the only time that I ever actually know that saying no got me to keep my job. As far as I know, that's only one time that I'm sure that it helped me. So, of course, I'm going to tell you that story. So, estimation is easy if you can easily say, I don't know. Or, how about this? You can always make an estimation. Just say, it will take less than 10 years. It will take less than 100 years. That's an estimate, and it's true. It's totally accurate. But it's not very useful because it's so imprecise. Or, if it's okay to say, I'll test that in 2 days and be anywhere up to 1,000,000% wrong, then that could be okay too. See, the problem is that to be useful, an estimate must be reasonably accurate and reasonably precise. And that is the tough thing to get. Of course, if the future is exactly like the past, then you just look and say, well, last time we did this, so I guess we'll do it that way next time. But sometimes the future isn't like the past. So now what are you going to do? What I hope you don't do is make calculations based on arbitrary immutable units, such as numbers of test cases. I ruthlessly make fun of people who count test cases, but I want to admit something to you. I'm very smart about mathematics. I studied calculus at the University of Vermont when I was 14. I love mathematics. And yet for 5 years, I counted test cases and did mathematics based on test cases that I should have known was nonsense, but I didn't realize it. The truth is, I didn't think about it. I thought about lots of other stuff, but I never realized that I was just telling lies by counting test cases and making estimates based on test cases until one day, July 12, 1992, which I remember because I still have the document that I wrote that has the date on it. July 12, 1992, I was walking with a set of estimated test cases to my manager's office, and halfway to his office, I realized this is all lies that I just made up. It has no basis in anything. I just did it to impress my boss so that he would give me stuff. And I don't want to be that kind of person anymore, so I tore it up and I never used test case counts again. And that was back in 1992, so I've lived a long time without using test case counts. And I prove that you can do it. Not just as a consultant either, because I was an actual test manager for years after that. And I always found alternatives that my managers would accept, alternatives to making test case counts in estimations. I try never to lie, and I try to admit when I don't know something. And that's what I mean by truthful test estimation is, what do you do if you don't want to tell a lie, your management says, but give me an estimation, so here are my answers to that question. First of all, I'd like you to think for a moment, this is an interesting question to ask in Delhi, how long will it take you to get home from here? Now, most people, when I ask this question, they say, oh, that's so easy to estimate. No, it's 15 minutes from here, or it's an hour from here. In Delhi, you might say, it is impossible to know. Perhaps we shall never get home. It becomes this like mystical Eastern wisdom that you have to have. But, okay, trust me, in many places in the world, you can estimate pretty reliably how you can get home. And so people think that that means that estimating things like, in some domains, like travel, is easy, but somehow estimating in software is hard. But what I'm here to tell you is they're both equally hard. The reason why you don't feel that it's hard to estimate moving distances and how long it will take you to get home or whatever is that you're never trying to estimate to the millisecond or to the microsecond. You never try to do that. If you tried to estimate to that level, you'd say, this is really hard. And because it would be really, really hard to do. Is there anybody who can tell me that you can make an estimate that would end at an exact second at some time in the future and say, that is the exact second that I will get home? Can anybody do that? You can do that. You really can? Even if I paid you $1 million? If I paid you $1 million, could you estimate down to the second when you would get home? Oh man, I'm going to make her $1 million. She could have made $1 million for me. Oh, too bad. All you have to do is estimate something that's like, give yourself several hours past when you think you'll need. And then say it's going to be exactly the second, then go almost all the way home, and just stand there 10 feet from your front door, counting down the seconds until you touch your door at exactly that second and say, give me the money. What you have to do is you'd have to put a buffer in. You'd have to use a buffering strategy. That's how you solve the problem. In fact, that is how we all get to the airport on time to take our international flights. You don't wait till the last minute. I get to airports 3 hours before I'm supposed to leave. And I'm never stressed about it. I just go 3 hours because you never know what's going to go wrong. I've had taxis crash. Well, one time I was in a taxi that crashed, and that delayed me, but I still got to where I was going on time. I once got on a train that then was stuck for an hour. I still got to the airport in time. I had a plane get canceled, but I got to the airport so early that I got the last seat on the previous flight, and I still got to where I was going. Being early, or having a big buffer, basically gives you all kinds of possibilities. The reason why your management doesn't want a big buffer is it means it commits a lot of resources. If they could do 3 projects in the time that it takes to do 1 project, well, they want to do that. And they would love to commit to doing that. So they're always pushing you to make perfectly efficient use of all of your resources. That's the force that's pushing us away from using buffers. You just skip this here. All right, so there's that force and we have to deal with it. So what my point there is that actually all estimation is hard. The only way that any estimation seems easy is you're not trying to be very exact about it. You're not, and you're using lots of buffering, and you shrug and say that's okay. I can use lots of buffering. That's why estimation seems easy for many aspects of life, but it's actually all really hard. Let me tell you how to estimate anything right now. Here's the universal estimation process. First, visualize and simulate the process in your mind. Close your eyes and see yourself testing. Walk yourself through day by day what's going to happen. This is what I really do. I watch myself testing in my mind's eye. Then I just notice how long the process took in my imagination, and that's my estimate. Now, there's a little problem simulating and visualizing things, and that is there's the little bit that you know about that you're going to have to do, and then there's a whole bunch that you don't know about, that you can't know that you are going to have to do. So you can't estimate, you can't visualize based on something that you have no idea is going to happen. A fire alarm occurs. You didn't know there was going to be a fire alarm, or there's a car accident, or there's a strike at Lufthansa. There's various things that can happen that were, for you, unforeseeable. But to do the best you can with this, you need general skill and knowledge about the process, specific knowledge about that project, and your process that you are attempting to estimate must be a knowable, predictable process. So, bottom line, when somebody says, estimate this project, and I have reason to believe that they have no idea what product they're going to build, that's not even a predictable situation. Certainly, I can't do an estimate of that. But I always do the same thing, in that every time I'm seriously trying to estimate, I visualize. And here's a rule for you, here's a heuristic about this. If you try to visualize your testing, and you just can't see a picture of what the testing is going to look like, that is a critical error. That is a terrible failure. You need to get to the bottom of that. Why can't you see yourself testing? What is it that is stopping you? But if you can't see yourself testing, you should not be estimating anything, because you're basically, right now, if I said, visualize lunch, what would lunch look like? You have no trouble visualizing that. You've experienced lunch many times. You don't just have this blank, like someday I'll experience lunch and then I'll know, like first love. No, this is something you know a lot about. It's easy to visualize. You don't say, lunch could take an hour, or it could take 3 days. I never know, because I just can't see it. Here's something I thought I could visualize, real example, on the medical project. I was supposed to find a statistical formula for calculating a two-tailed confidence interval. I thought, that's easy. I'm just going to Google it. It'll take me a few minutes. It took me 2 days. 2 days. At the end of it, I felt like some guy who had been searching for the white whale. I felt like a shipwrecked sailor was just out for a few hours of sailing and ended up caught in a storm. I went through 10 statistics textbooks. I Googled. It turned out I was Googling for the wrong thing. I was using the wrong keywords. I was looking in the wrong chapters of those statistical textbooks. It was supposed to be chapter 9, and I was looking at chapter 7, and I didn't connect. It took me 2 days to properly model the problem until it clicked what I really should be looking for. Then it was 15 minutes to solve the problem. But I couldn't have anticipated during that, like, how long is it going to take you, James, to solve the problem? I would have just said, I'm trying to solve it. Shut up. I'm trying to solve it. I'm working on it. Maybe I'll be done in an hour. Maybe I won't be done in an hour. Maybe I'll give up and do something totally different. But right now, I'm just trying to solve it, so Stop pushing me. I don't know how long it's going to take. It's not like I had a 15-minute task, and then I realized 10 minutes into it, oh, this isn't a 15-minute task. This is a 2-day task. That's not how it ever felt. It always felt like, in just another 20 minutes, I could solve it. Just another 20 minutes. Only in retrospect did I realize that that was going to be a whole lost weekend. Now, you have to have a model of testing in your mind to estimate testing. You have to have an understanding of the process. So let me, I can't give you that whole understanding right now. And of course you already have some sort of understanding, and your understanding might be quite sophisticated, but there are different levels in this room and different ways, different understandings people have. Let me suggest one good place to start when visualizing testing to help you focus. The product risk knowledge gap. Start with that. This is what the product risk knowledge gap is. It's the difference between what you know about the product and what you need to know. That difference, that gap, is closed by testing. If there is no gap, you don't need to do testing. Now there's a nice analogy that goes along with this, which is headlights. What the headlights of a car do for you is they close the knowledge gap between what you can see without headlights in the darkness and what you need to see in order to travel at the speed you are safely traveling at. So if we want to travel fast down the road and it's very dark at night, we need bright headlights that close that gap. If it's the daytime and you're not in Delhi, then you might not need headlights because you might have really good visibility, right? So you have these headlights. Well, testing and testers, we are the headlights of the project. So we have to ask the question, how bright do these headlights need to be? How much risk is there here? What do we really need to know about this product? So the process of testing is the process of closing this gap until there's nothing important left in the gap. So that should be your starting point, or that could be your starting point. It's a heuristic for where to start, is to ask yourself, what kind of a gap is there here? What is it that we really need to know about this product anyway? Here's another heuristic, the logic of test estimation. When you are reasoning about test estimation, you are climbing up and down this logical ladder. From the risk gap, you reason backward. You say, there's a big risk gap here, so therefore, we need lots of valuable testing. Okay, how do we get that valuable testing? We're going to have to do this and this and this. We're going to figure out our test strategy, our work products. And then you can work backward from that and say, well, how long is that going to take? Now that we have an idea of what we want to do, we can start talking about how long that's going to take. But until you decide how valuable the testing is going to be, you can't even make decisions about what your test strategy is going to be. And you can't decide how valuable the testing is until you consider what the risk gap is. Now this part up here relates to another heuristic, which is that I suggest that you give 3 estimates whenever you give an estimate. Don't ever give 1 estimate. Give 3. Give a minimal estimate where you say, we might be able to get away with very little testing if we accept a lot of risk. Maybe it's okay. Maybe we can accept a lot of risk. So this is the budget plan. This is the cheap, quick and dirty testing. Maybe it'll be okay because maybe our customers will forgive us for having a few bugs, the ones that survive. And Then on the opposite side, you have the conservative estimate. That's where you have the gold-plated plush testing plan with leather seats and a walnut console and beautiful luxury testing. This is where you throw in everything. You say, let's bring in a user interface expert. Have that person do testing for it. Let's do security testing. And you put in all this stuff. That's the conservative estimate, where you're conservative about risk. And then there's the reasonable estimate, and that's where you try to split the difference between the super budget plan and the gold-plated plan. And the thing is that when you talk about the minimalist or the luxury testing packages, you're helping your clients to think about their options. And that makes them really willing and much better able to understand, to have perspective, so that they can choose the middle plan. And they usually choose the middle plan, but I have been surprised. Sometimes they say, oh no, not the middle plan. We're going to take the budget plan, or we're going to take the super luxury testing plan. That's surprising whenever anybody orders that one, because it's usually pretty expensive. But the three estimates help people reason about this stuff, and a lot of times they can mix and match from the different things. They say, I like this part of your gold plan, but I also like this part of the budget plan. Let's put them together and make a different, reasonable mix. So you got to work the logic. And what a lot of people do when they estimate is, instead of working logic, instead of thinking about how good does the testing have to be, instead of talking about risks or any of that, a lot of people just ignore all of that, and instead they just go, this is the conventional thing to do, so we'll just do the conventional thing. And then we'll try to figure out what that will cost. Now that is already pretty difficult, but if you do the conventional thing a lot, then at least you could go based on your history. I don't think that's very good test estimation, because I don't even think it's very good testing. I think your test estimation ought to be based on understanding risk, because partly what that does is allows people to fall back. If they can't afford the testing for all the risks, then they might say, maybe we'll just accept more risk. Maybe we don't need to do testing for this risk. Maybe we don't need to do testing for that risk. I thought I wanted that testing, and then I found out how much it cost. That's why, by the way, that is why we have so many security problems in the world today, because management is saying that all the time about security testing. Oh, we want a totally secure product. And then they find out that to hire security experts is really expensive and it's a complicated process, and they go, maybe it's secure enough. Hackers probably won't try to hack us anyway. And that's why everything that's built is super hackable. Is because security is hard. It's expensive to do. It's expensive to test for. It's not that companies don't care about security. They just don't want to pay anything for it. That's the problem. Ultimately, we got to come down to this cost and times thing. Try to figure out what that is. But there's a problem with that, which is whatever work that you can foresee is actually a small part of the work that you need to do. And that comes back to tacit and explicit skills partly. It comes back to a number of things. And that's why I use a public time buffer. I argue strongly in favor of buffers. And I don't make them private, I make them public. Private buffers can be easily abused. Public buffers help you be disciplined. What we say is, this is what the foreseeable product work is going to take us to do. Everything directly foreseeable. But we don't believe that the only work we're going to have to do is the work that we can see coming. We're planning for things that we don't know are coming, but they tend to come anyway, so we have to have the buffer. Boom. That's the unplanned. We'll try to do it faster if we can, but we have this buffer just in case. This is really the key to reasonable estimates, is arguing for these buffers, and the way that you can get these buffers over time, I found, is by documenting the reasons, all the kinds of unforeseen things that come up. You document them so that when people say, oh, why are you saying you need the buffer? You go, shall I show you the list of all the 17 unforeseen things that cost us a day or more of time last project? Let me list them. Let me list them like listing the names of the dead. Let's pause in remembrance of all of our mistakes we made last project. And then you tell me that this time, no, this time we're not going to have any of that. It's only the planned stuff that's going to happen. So a big part of justifying buffers is to be able to explain how this work that is off the books, how this unanticipated work comes to be. So I'm going to show you something right now, which is a program that my colleague Michael Bolton and I have been working on. And we're going to release this sometime soon. I'm actually looking for this thing. Oh, he's moved it into I want it in Progress In. There we go. Progress In James. Got it. Here it is. Here we go. This is a storytelling tool that I have developed to help testers tell stories about testing. And it's a nice, colorful thing. So it's like little testing fairy tales. Here we go. See what this is imagine that each block here is a block of time. In this case, each block of time is 2 minutes long. Imagine that you spend 90 minutes trying to test the product. Imagine that nothing goes wrong. Every 2-minute period is a frolic with the testing gods. Perfectly productive testing. Just seeing one after another of your ideas come to fruition, and you don't find any bugs, and you're perfectly, look at the blue progress bar. We just march across like we're installing software. Boom! Life isn't like that most of the time. Most of the time it's more like this. Oh, we're not quite ready to test. We have to get the username set up. Okay, now we're testing, and then, oh, is that a bug? Oh, we have to investigate it. Oh, no, we have to reset the system. That's what's going on. Let's test some more. And that's definitely a bug. Now look at my blue progress bar. I've done only half the productive testing work that I plan on doing, or 60% of it. Now here's 1 week of testing in 10-minute blocks, okay? And I'm going to do this the fast way. Fast way works. Oh, I think I crashed it. Did I crash it? Oh, it's supposed to be. Oh, that's right. There we go. Boom. That's the fast way. I don't know how to use my own product. All right. See everything that's black? Everything that's black is lunch times, meeting with coworkers, chatting with coworkers. Now, I know in India you're so productive you never chat with coworkers, you never have any conversations at work, but let me tell you, I was testing with a group in Abu Dhabi, and I measured about 1/3 of their time was spent not actually doing any technical work, but instead talking about whether it's better to buy or lease a car in Abu Dhabi. different ways that Muslim women dress, and like a woman who was wearing an abaya was telling us about who wears abayas, who wears niqabs, who wears just the hijab. It was absolutely fascinating. She told us all about that, and we were not working while we're doing that. Now, the deeper truth is we were working, because building team trust, especially across different cultures, is very, very important. I was joking with their management. I was joking with her manager about how this woman was talking to us about all this stuff. And I was joking with him about this because I knew what his attitude was about this, which is that Jayashri, the Muslim lady from India, is a keystone of our team. She's tremendously productive. If she thinks that the most important thing to do is to talk to a coworker about doesn't know anything about the Muslim culture, then that's the right thing to do. In a way, what was happening there is self-care, but it's a team level of self-care. It's the top priority. Take care of the team, build the team, make the team able to talk with each other. This team I'm working with in Abu Dhabi is the best adjusted, friendliest team I have worked with in years. Everyone I come up to, I say, I need something, they go, I'll get that for you right away. And then later I found out it wasn't their job to get that for me. They just always help anyone who asks for it. And that's the attitude they have. And their manager fosters that attitude. So this black stuff isn't wasted time. It's low-level maintenance code, you could say. It's self-care. Let's take all the black stuff and call it self-care. Most of the black stuff. But the stuff that's not black is active attempts to test the product. But look, there's not that much that's green. I'm going to back up now. There's not that much that's green. There's a lot of red. There's a lot of yellow. Now look at the progress bar. The progress bar here is calibrated to represent one full day of testing progress. And notice it takes an entire week to achieve 1 day actual testing progress. And one of the reasons why it takes that long is because of this little guy, which we're about to come up with right there. Product updates. What do product updates do? They trigger the need for regression testing, which invalidates the earlier testing that you did and forces you to retest. Now, maybe you have automation or maybe you don't, but we already know that your automation does not reproduce the value of your testing. All those validation checks that the people have been talking about, yeah, they're just fact checks. They're not testing. They're useful, but it is rather dangerous to think that they are sufficient. And even if they are useful, you have to follow up on everything that fails, everything that seems to fail. And if something passes, you can't just assume that everything was good. Maybe it was bad and the test didn't run correctly. So you have to have adult human supervision of your automation processes. So that takes time. Maybe it doesn't take as much time to retest as it takes time to test, but it takes some time. So this little storytelling tool simulates a bunch of things, and one of the things it simulates right here is the need to retest an entire week's worth of testing. Boom! Then the last day on Friday, and you meet with the developer to figure out what's going on, what did you change, and then you do retesting. Now the retesting can recover that testing status quickly, but you still have to do it and it still burns time. So just look at that. I wonder if anyone here will deny that this is reality or pretty close to it. This is reality, and yet, this is not how you remember the week. At the end of the week, you're not going to remember it like this. What you're going to remember it as is, I tried to test all week. I did a week of testing. I spent all week testing that thing. And your management is going to say, you said it would take a week to test. And you spent a week. Why are you telling me you're not done testing? But look what you've done. You've gotten 1 day of actual testing progress because you kept getting knocked backwards. Because finding bugs interrupts your testing. That's why when I'm giving a truthful estimate, I say, my entire estimate is based on finding no bugs in this product. If you're planning to have bugs on the product, tell me now. And they go, what do you mean planning to have bugs? Like, are you planning to have bugs in the product? Like, no, of course we aren't. All right, so let's assume we don't find any bugs. And because I can't plan for how big the bug is going to be. But if you put bugs in this product, that's going to create arbitrary interruptions to my testing. If you want me to give you an accurate, precise estimate of testing, one of the things you have to do is give me a complete list of every bug in the product. So hand that over, and I'm happy to hand you over a complete, accurate estimate of testing. Because much of what makes testing unpredictable is the bugs that slam us and slam us and slam us and we thought we could do a sanity check today, but we're not going to be able to do it. We thought we could run the automation today, but it's not even beginning to be compatible with this product, and we're going to have to rewrite that library, and so we're stuck on that. You know this stuff happens if you have any experience, but here's the difference between me and you. Probably. The difference between me and you. It's a simple thing. I keep track. I take notes. So that when people ask me questions like, how come this estimate is like this? I tick off specific events that happened that we didn't anticipate in the past, specific kinds of bugs that happened that they didn't tell me were going to be in the product, specific events where my test platform was pulled away from me because the developers needed it for something, or the DBAs needed to tweak something, or they needed to do a demo for Google because Google wants to buy us, or something like that. It's a company I work with in Germany. They literally cannot control their test platform. Their test platform is like electricity in India. It's sometimes there, it's sometimes not. They cannot predict it. And I said, this is ridiculous. You have to get control. And they said to me this. They said, nobody controls the test platform. It's anyone can have it who grabs it. So I said, really? Then I would write a script that every 5 seconds would just grab it back from whoever has it. And then I would be always the owner of the test platform. If really nobody owns it, then I own it. It takes an American sometimes to invade your country and solve the problems for you. I don't let anybody tell me nobody owns something. Because when they say nobody owns something, what they mean is passive-aggressive people who don't want to reveal themselves secretly own this. And I want to get them to come out into the open and admit what they own and what they're doing. So I use this tool to show testers and show managers, this is reality, this is what's happening. From between 1 day and 2.5 days of actual testing progress will be achieved in a full week of full-time testing of any given tester. That's what I keep measuring. That's what I keep seeing in data like this. When you really write it out and keep track of it, you will find out that you have ridiculously high expectations of yourselves. Ridiculously high. And you have high expectations because you're not keeping track of your own experiences. You're forgetting all these things, these embarrassing things that have stopped you. All right, so I've got to wrap this up. So I will say you have to use buffers, and to justify the buffers, show them examples of how testing time really works and all the things that come in and interrupt testing. Don't let them pin that on you and pretend that that's some kind of productivity problem that you have. It's a system problem, and everybody needs to share in that. So I insist that people recognize and take seriously the actual patterns of how we spend time. Here's one way to do this. A student of mine did this. I asked him just to sit next to somebody for an hour and watch how that tester worked and just write down everything they did. And he did this beautiful set of notes. This is his first time he ever tried doing it. And he comes up with this beautiful set of notes about telephone calls and asking the boss for questions and missteps and rework, and it's all here. You don't have to do this every day. Just do this once in a while so you have some fresh data, and then you can say, this is how it really works. All right, I think I'm out of time. So I have to leave you here and let you go to a break. I think I've told you some good stuff, though. It feels to me like I got through most of what I wanted to do. Now, fortunately, in my estimation, I realized it was okay if I didn't get to the last slide. So, but if I wanted to technically claim that I got to all my slides in the time that I had, then all I have to do is hit this button, and get to the end, and I think this is my last slide, and end with some quick advice to you. And now technically I can claim that I did all my slides, and that doesn't feel like a very good thing to say though, so I'll say I feel like I did the best that I could in this situation, and if management, meaning Smita and her husband, want me to do more presenting about testing, then they can give me more time. Otherwise, they can ship right now with what we have.
Yeah, we could do 5 more minutes. How long do you need?
Oh, I was just saying that rhetorically. I was hoping you'd say there's no more time and make me ship. No, okay. I'll just do this slide then. This is the most critical slide I haven't covered yet. Let me just cover this slide and that'll be it. All right. 5 simple ideas, big idea. You probably already know these if you have experience. I'm just putting them into words for you. But one is you have to ask yourself to make an estimate. You say, is there a relevant precedent? Is there a very similar project in my experience base? Is this version 1.2.6 of something that I've already done 1.2.5, 1.2.4, 1.2.3? In which case, I'm just going to look, and estimations will be pretty easy probably. I look at the last cycle and say it's going to probably be like that again. So that's one big way. That's the way most people think, I think. The second thing is I asked, is management telling me what the estimate is? Are they saying, how long will it take to test this? Can it be a week, please? Please, can it be a week? If so, then I look at it and say, here's what I can do in a week. I can do this in a week. Is that all right? And they'll go, yeah, that's okay. And then I'll say, my estimate is it's a week. You know, that's what it will take. So I take management mandates seriously, and if I can say yes to a management mandate, I will say yes to a management mandate. Is there a blocking unknown? If someone says, please estimate testing on this, and I go, okay, tell me what the product's going to be. Oh, we haven't decided yet. It kind of hasn't been invented. But how long is the testing going to take? Then I'll say, well, that's a blocking unknown, big one. I really don't have the base. That's like asking me, estimate the answer to the equation x plus 3. There's no estimate you can give. Well, what's x? We can't tell you. So x plus, I think you've already gotten as close as you're going to get. It's x plus 3 for whatever x you guess that you're going to get is the estimate. I can't say, oh, 7. That's the right answer. 7 is probably the answer to x plus 3. So I look, if there's a blocking unknown, I'm not even going to try to do an estimate. I just say, I'm done. Can I ask an expert? Maybe there's someone who's tested this before, or tested something like this before, and they can tell me. They can strip their shirt sleeves and show me the scars and say, I got this one testing the earlier version of your product. Beware, it's fiery teeth. No, thank you. Fiery teeth. But probably my favorite, my personal favorite answer, how I achieve estimations without telling lies, is I give a first order answer. A first order answer is when you go, I don't know how long this is going to take, but I can tell you what my guess is based on everything I know right now. And I can tell you that I'm going to give you a better estimate 2 days from now. Why don't you let me see the product, meet the team, and then 2 days from now I'm going to have a lot better idea. As soon as I start testing it a little bit, I'll give you continuous updates. Every day I will grow smarter. And I will be able to see reasonably well into the future, enough to see if there's huge obstacles coming. And that's the thing that I really try to do, is to see those obstacles before it's too late. I do that by visualization. I visualize and then I go, uh-oh, I realized we don't have a building to test in because I've been trying to visualize and I can't see the walls. That's because I don't know where I'm going to be to test. Am I going to be in this country or that country? I better find that out. Visualization catches lots of good problems like that. So those are my 5 useful things for you to think about, apart from everything else I said, that add up to some estimation shortcuts that you might try to use. And I hope that none of what I have said to you suggests that you need to ever tell a lie or pretend that you know something that you don't really know. That's it. Thank you. Time for a break. Then on to my new presentation that I'm so excited about. Question Hospital Emergency.
Alright guys, we'll break for like 10 minutes since we are running short on time, now 15 minutes, and then quickly get done with final presentation of the day. Post that, we'll be very happy to do some felicitation for our speakers. Please stay for that, and that is the end of it. Okay? Come back really quick in 10 minutes so that we have